creators, for writers, for artists, for musicians, for comedians, for I'm leaving out a plethora of different kinds of content creators that we are on Hive. And so you don't have to even know what's going on with that whole scene. Hive Space is for you. It's for all of us to learn together. And we tend to talk it out in plain English. Nobody's here to impress anybody. We're here to learn. And most of us that walk through these doors with microphones, most of us use learning for our entertainment. There are movies and there's learning, and I can't get by if I have to give up one. That's all I'm saying. I want to bring on, I am Alessandra White, your host, and I want to bring on the co host, Shadows Pub. Shadows has been on the Hive blockchain since it was the legacy chain of Steam, right?
That I have.
And it wasn't you met Jennifer not long after that or after she came back to
Um,
Steam.
I met Jennifer just before I met you on Twitter.
Yay! I'm so glad that
Well,
the three of
on
us got put together
on Spaces actually.
on
True story.
on
True story.
yeah, well, thank you for being here. And so Shadows, tell us, what is it that you do on Hive? What is your focus on Hive? And what do you do when you're not on Hive?
Two questions. Do I have a focus and am I ever not on a hive?
Yes, Shadow's website has a brilliant name to it.
Nicheless?
Nicheless and loving it.
Yep.
Yep.
So
It's-
on Hive, you may see buzzes, aka tweets. You will see podcasts, and you definitely see blogs from me. On a very rare occasion, I will do video, and that will show up on Hive as well. And when I feel like it, I will work across from Web 2 to Web 3, um, doing things like creating and publishing books.
And have you published any of these journals, coloring books, any of the what they call the low content publications? Have you published any of those on Hive just yet? Is that not a thing there? I'm wondering.
It's not a thing, but I certainly have blogged about it, and I just updated a post I did on the weekend for a coloring book that was released today. And yes, there's a link in there to go and get the book if you're looking on Hive.
Yay. Oh, it's so good. And you were going to last year, you foresaw it as a heavy publishing year, but you actually ended up expanding what you do in Hive.
So my intentions at the beginning of 2022 was I was going to publish all kinds of low content books and have a big inventory up on Amazon. That didn't happen. But I did end up doing more consistent writing after the end of March.
Oh, and how did that come about?
Oh, well, some woman named Alessandra pulled me into this thing called Creative Work Hour, and I show up and set my intentions, do things like I don't know, write or create.
Oh, it's so good. And thank you today. Because you do so many things for me that I don't want to burn you out and have you tell me lose my number. But I really appreciate you closing the space for Creative Work Hour today. I was like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to be at the trauma recovery examination 5 minutes ago. You were like, get out. It was it was very
Throw me the
loving.
keys and get out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah, out of here. Yeah, and Jennifer Navarrete, how are you? And tell us what you like to do on Hive and what you do when you're not, if you're not.
Um, I like to do all the things that I do on Web 2 on Hive. I like to microblog, just like I like to tweet. I do that on Dbuzz. I like to post social media type content. I usually do that on PeakD or maybe eCincy. I like to post photos, and I do that on Like too, which is like Instagram. I like to podcast, and I do that on Ariel. I haven't gotten the hang of video yet. I do have a video up on 3Speak, and I don't remember how I did it, and it seems like it's a challenge for me. I don't know why. But I do stream to Vim. As a matter of fact, this is being streamed to Vim right now. So I like all the things that I do normally. I do it there too, except I can own my stuff and potentially earn for my stuff. And I have found a global community that is so supportive and knowledgeable and informative and funny. So all again, all the stuff that I find on Web 2, I find it on Web 3 or on Hive, but it seems like a more invested and a richer experience because of the fact that we're all building this blockchain together.
So, did you have a hard time getting the wheels going in your Web3 life?
I started with an alt account because I wasn't quite sure whether it was the place for me because I had created an account with my name before in another in the legacy chain, and it just didn't fit. And I thought, I don't know, it looks good, but let me just start with an alt account and kind of have the freedom to muck about. And this was the time for me anyway. I know everybody's got their own timing with stuff, but it really worked really well because I've met people like Shadows and like Dream and others that were I met them first, even though Shadows and I may have met through we met because of Hive Chat, which is something because of Hive. So the fact that we were, both on there and got connected. And then Dream, I met because of Shadows, because I was doing the Walk Talk Challenge for women entrepreneurs and women of Web3. And I interviewed Shadows and she said, you need to interview Dream. I'm like, great, let's do it. So I think that ability to, or that opportunity that exists where we're doing the same things we're doing here, but we can also do it there is just so powerful and so freeing at the same time.
It is so cool. And so here's how Hive Space is staffed, if you will. Shadows has more experience than the three of us. She knows what's up in ways that like continually shock me. On a weekly basis, I'm like, oh my God, you're connected that way too? That's so cool. Jennifer she's the one that's in between Shadows and me in her experience, and she had her friend Shane on. Was that last week? Who introduced her to Hive?
Yes.
So I got to meet her friend after hearing about him for almost a year. It was really lovely. And so I'm the anti-expert. I don't know much about much. I only know enough to be dangerous. And so if I feel like I can take a question and answer it, these two are just they're just letting me go. They're letting me do my thing out on the dance floor. It may not be pretty out on the dance floor, but but I get the moves in and I quickly hand it over when I realize I'm out of my depth. So it's just kind of a fun thing where we go by the model of learn, share, grow, so that we're not waiting till we're an expert before we teach anybody something. And we're not learning until we've got it down before we try it. That we simply just get in here and muck about. That's our ethos. I want to bring on our guest for this show. Dream Steam is in the house. And Dream, would you do your introduction the way that you can do it? And I would I would spend too long and I would leave out the really, really good parts. So how are you, Dream? Thank you for being here. And then we'll introduce Jordy.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people kind of know I've been on here a few times now. But what I love to do is just kind of empower a lot of newbies and even oldies to have the control over how they share their content and have more control over their visibility. because a lot of newbies, as we know, struggle to the point where they give up um, on whatever platform they're on because they just can't break out of that newbie environment and meet new people and find places to go. And so we built a platform called Dreamport that allows people to jump in on like the first day when they come in, they jump in, they start reading from other people. And then after they read and curate some content, then they are invited to share their content, which will be available the very next day. So it's kind of a pay it forward kind of curation project that we do. And then we also collaborate with new communities each month. So not only are we introducing newbies to the public, but we're also introducing newbies to various communities on the platform that they may not have seen or may not have been courageous enough to try. And just because they're with us and because we're doing it that month, it's a lot less scary. And they have fun doing it. And I will segue into this month. We actually were going to try to do Scholar and Scribe. They had asked us to collaborate, and we said yes. Let's look maybe at May-ish time. And then we had a cancellation, and I ran to Jordy and said, "Is there any way? I know it's so late. Is there any way that we could do it for February?" And he said, "I would love to. However, I think it's a little short. What if I suggest somebody with you?" And I'm going to let him tell more about Hive Book Club and some of the ideas that he had that I thought were absolutely fabulous. And he was laughing because he goes, I can see the gears turning in your brain, Dream. Like, I love it. I just love it. I think this is a great idea. So I will kind of back off a little bit and I will let him talk more about Scholar and Scribe and his ideas with Hive Book Club and how it merged really, really nicely with Dreamport. And to be fair, I'm not throwing him kind of into the mix here with all the information because we're not officially starting that collaboration until February 13th. So we still have to get into a DM and iron out all the details, but he can kind of give some general ideas about some of the things that he shared with me. So
That's perfect because that means that it does officially kick off before our next Hive Space. So that's cool. Jordy, I think you were one of our very, very first guests. Either maybe this second?
Could be.
I don't know.
Author and a marketer in both Web 2 and Web 3. When I'm on Hive, I've got a few focuses. The public facing one is in experimenting with serializing fiction and experimenting with reader engagement. So I have some novels I wrote a while ago. I went through the Web 2 process a little bit, self-publishing, and then I kind of put them on the shelf. And then once I discovered Hive and kind of got my feet wet and understood what was going on, this is right around when Scholar and Scribe was starting up, I started posting that fiction about 1,000 words at a time as Hive posts, and then chaining them all together and creating nice little index posts, and eventually running contests where I'll ask people to share their favorite quote from the story, and then I raffle off Hive tokens. So that's kind of my main thing I do on Hive. I also love the games and learning about DeFi, and I'm going to be doing some PR stuff, I think, later this year, but that's kind of beside the point of the main focus of what we're doing here today. And when I'm not on Hive,
But there is a Jordy sprawl.
yeah, it's slowly, it's a scope creep, if you
interest.
will, that I've got to try to rein in.
Scope creep. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's really good. Scope creep.
Yeah, it's addictive, and I've got to be careful because in my non-Hive activities, I'm a freelance marketer with a bunch of clients to try to focus mainly in writing because that's where my passion is. So producing a lot of Web 2 B2B stuff. I also have a startup in e-learning, but that's a whole nother story. So that's me in a nutshell. And when it came to these Dreamport collaborations, I guess Dream can give you the overview of what they are in general, but from my perspective as someone who was partnered with them back, I think it was like August of last year or something like that. It was Scholar and Scribe was fairly new. Scholar and Scribe is a writing community, by the way, and serial fiction is kind of what we've become known for. Scholar and Scribe was new. We needed new members. We were trying to get people excited about the community, so we partnered with Dreamport, who has this really enthusiastic community of dreamers who come from all over the internet. A lot of them focus on Hive, but they can come from all over. And basically, Dream just sort of marshals them into a really fun month of activities. And you, as the partner community, can just sort of lounge back and watch the magic happen, or you can step up and take a more active role if that's your jam. We ended up taking a bit more of an active role, and Dreamport also co-collaborated with Eastency. It was just a big spontaneous mix of fun, and it helped us get over to our 500 members mark in subscribers to Scholar and Scribe, and we had a big party on the Hive Pizza Discord, and it was like this big mashup of communities. It was a really fun live event. So we're always happy to mix and match with Dreamport, and when this opportunity came to partner with it again, obviously I would love to do it, but as Dream mentioned, the timing was a bit short. So that brings us to Hive Book Club, which is another community on Hive, which is more focused, I think, on readers of books, which is, I think, a problem in a lot of writing communities. Not necessarily a problem, but writing communities online tend to focus on writers because they're writing communities, right? We've got like 7 of them on Hive. Between Spanish-speaking communities, probably like 4 others I don't know of just because they're smaller and more obscure. There's Inkwell, there's Free Writers, there's Writing Club, there's us at Scholar and Scribe, there's Cervantes, there's just tons of people writing. But as I think Rachel would point out, there's 2 halves to this. There's the writing and then there's the readers. And there tends to be a lot more readers than there are writers. And writers are nothing without the readers. So I'm always trying to think of how do we connect with readers? We want readers, not just writers sending stuff to other writers. And for me, Hive Book Club is more of a place where readers will go to talk about the books they're reading. It's a fairly large community too, so I thought I would try to make a little introduction, and it seems to be going well.
So this is, well, tell us a little bit more about book club, because I've been to some book clubs and there were books in the house, but really we were busy opening wine bottles. So tell us how does this one really work?
As far as I know, and I haven't delved into Hive Book Club deeply. We've run a few collaborations with them, but their main thrust seems to be getting people to write reviews about books they've read, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anything to do with Hive. You could have picked up a book from the bookstore, thought it was cool, and decided to give it a little write-up. That's kind of their main content stream. They want people to tell people about the books they've read, but I notice that they do say it's okay to review things that have appeared on Hive. And a lot of the stories on Hive are contained to like single posts, right? There's like 1,000 words or maybe 2,000 words or maybe a 200-word poem. That tends to be the start and the end to things on Hive when it comes to stories, and it can be hard to write like a chunky review about that kind of stuff. But since Scholar and Scribe does serial fiction, we have people that have done like, 100-part epics, right? And there's an actual full story you can get into. So I think there's just a natural extension and collaboration opportunity between Scholar and Scribe writing serial stuff over to the Hive Book Club folks who might want to actually support some authors on Hive and review some of those stories. And we've dabbled between the two communities in that. And I think Dreamport just plugs in from a curation and a advocacy and an amplification angle where they can have this whole teeming group of people who love to read, love to write, and can put a bit more of a spotlight on Hive Book Club itself. And during this collaboration between February and March, Scholar and Scribe will be supporting it, but we won't be the main focus. I want to highlight Hive Book Club and get them excited and show them what Dreamport can do. And and also throw some of our tokens and encourage our membership to have a look as well.
Several of those book reviews have been presented during PYPT, so I'm kind of gathering they're a bit of an active community.
Yeah, they're certainly not small. I can go check the stats right now, actually. And they're the biggest community that I could see that was reader focused. Like I said, there's tons of writer focused things, but I didn't see anything that was like for the readers. Let's see here. Recency needs a better search function. Let's go over to Peaked.
The blockchain needs a better
Yeah.
search function.
Like I type Hive Book Club in and you'd expect it to come up, wouldn't you? But not on Recency. All right, 3,300 subscribers. They only have 98 active users right now. So a lot, maybe legacy accounts that haven't posted in a while, but they have 362 pending rewards. So what's in there is actually being noticed by enough accounts to generate some of those inflationary rewards on Hive. So I think a nice little Dreamport injection could shake that active user count up a bit and put some notice onto the community. And I'm pretty sure they're an OCD incubation community as well, or at least one of their leaders is an OCD curator for sure.
Jordy, you lost me. What does that mean?
The OCD curation thing?
Hmm.
I'm sure you've seen OCD. I think it stands for Online Content Decentralized, if I got that right. They're a huge
Oh, okay.
voting account. Like I think a 6% vote from them will give you like $8 worth of Hive tokens. A lot of people delegate to it. It's run by a longtime Hive veteran, Acidio. I don't know how he pronounces it.
Acidio is also the guy behind Posh
There
Token.
you go. Yeah. So
Oh,
he is
okay. And is Acidio, is he a whale?
big time, and
Big time
he
whale.
operates like OCD and OCDB. Those accounts are massive accounts, and he runs a whole curation effort where he's got a team of manual curators who go in and suggest posts from select communities, and then that's gone through a review process, and members can occasionally get a nice juicy upvote. It's one of those.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
one of those
Not
things.
only does he have, I just see this. It says, this is what he says. We have over 35 curators for
Mhm.
both English and over 10 other languages looking at posts aged 0 to 5 days that may have gone missed by most curators.
Yeah.
How
It's one of
cool.
those.
Like find a problem and solve it, right?
Yeah, like
Oh,
when
hi.
you're.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Gretchen. Hi, Naelis. Hi, Stacy. Oh yeah, some people popped in the room while I was trying to
Yeah,
chew gum and walk at the same time.
I'd like to welcome Stacy as a friend that I met on Clubhouse.
I know that is that Stacy. So I feel like she's a friend already. And my friend Dave is here that I met on Building a Second Brain, like, I don't know, 4 cohorts ago or something. So he's lovely. He's up in the middle of the night. He's in Ireland. And Gretchen, I know because of Jennifer. And were we doing Not Pod Pomo together too? Isn't it funny how, like, you have more than one chance to meet somebody. So if, you're having a bad hair day, you're fine. They'll come back around.
So I don't know about you, Alessandra, but I'd like to hear what Dream has up her sleeve for the Hive Book Club.
Yeah, Dreamy. Tell us.
Well, okay, so the cool thing that I really loved that Jordy shared is he mentioned it already, that, of course we see book reviews and that's interesting, and it's cool if you see something that gets you excited about a book that you haven't read or maybe that you have read and now you get somebody's insight. But what I absolutely freaked out over is that he said that the Hive Book Club will allow people to actually review other people's stories on Hive. Because for me, that's like he said, that's kind of full circle now. We have people, it's just so perfect for Dreamport because that's what we do. We connect writers with readers and readers with writers. We connect Hivians with communities and try to spread the word. And so when he said, oh, and by the way, they let you do this, I was like, okay, stop. That's it. We're definitely doing that this month then. And because he's the one that brought it, I was like, what if we kind of incorporate? He's very humble and he's like, no, I want to put the spotlight on Hive Book Club, but I think we can do, two things at once. And I said, what if we have, a selection of maybe some stories from um, Scholar and Scribe, and we put them out there for the dreamers to like choose. So now, not only do we have things out there that they can share on their own, but we have a selection of things that have been written by writers on Hive through Scholar and Scribe, serial fiction or short fiction that other dreamers can now get exposed to and bring new life to them and um and get people excited about reading those things. So it got very exciting for me to be able to do that. So we haven't worked out all the details yet, but by February 13th we will.
That is so cool. And Devin is in the room, and I just have a feeling that he has some comments or questions about some of this because he also is new within the last year to Hive, and he's getting his feet wet over there. How are you, Devin? Well, maybe he's not where he can.
He hasn't got a mic.
I am good. Thank you. Yeah, this is fascinating. I've gone down many routes of online publishing of various forms of fiction. So, yeah, this is an interesting conversation because it's, very hard to get traction. And I absolutely think community is the answer uh, to having anything garner attention online. So the better the community, the better the exposure of whatever your work is. So yeah, I'm definitely paying close attention here.
Now, weren't you from San Francisco during COVID? Didn't you? You have a thing for Canadians too. Um, your writing group was on using Discord, but they were out of Toronto. Is that right?
That's right. I just fell into that because I had a writing coach who was based in Toronto who had formed a writing group that for years was just, IRL in a Toronto cafe somewhere. And then pandemic happened, then went online. So since I found him during pandemic, he was like, oh, just join us on Zoom on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And so, yeah, I was a part of that group and it was a great group. But, when things started to ease up, they really wanted to go back to an in-person sort of experience rather than the Zoom experience.
Yeah, it happens. And fatigue happens with Zoom. Not the way I do it, but yeah, but I was just doing some more reading about Dreamport and getting my head around the difference between Dreamport and Dreamflare. And I'm still not completely clear. Could you help me with that a little bit, Dreamy?
Oh, sure. Dreamflare is kind of on hold. There are several projects that we had under the big umbrella of Dreamflare. And in order to let that simmer for a little bit because we wanted to launch Dreamport and put all our effort into that. We still have Dreamflare around, and I think on Twitter, it's still under the name Dreamflare, but really the focal point is Dreamport. So if there's any confusion, just kind of stick with Dreamport for now. But Dreamport is its own site. where people log on and they can share their content from any um, platform that they're writing on or that they're creating on. It doesn't have to be just writing. Our main focus is the writing. So if you're a photographer, if you're a musician, if you do like comedy, stand-up, videos, podcasts, any of that stuff, it's totally welcome to be shared on Dreamport, but there just has to be enough written content to support that as well. And yeah, anything that you like to share, all that we ask that you do in order to share it is to read 5 randomly selected posts each day when you log in to be able to share your content that day. So yeah, and we really love it. We have a lot of fun with it. We have contests, we have challenges, we have things to kind of push people out of their comfort zone. I think for me, the the furthest I got pushed out of my own comfort zone, which ended up being one of the most valuable experiences since we started Dreamport, was definitely the podcast month with Jennifer that happened in November for NAPOD Pomo. And it's one of those things that um, we try to give tools, not just for writers, but just, give a plethora of tools because you never know when those things are going to come back, into your life again. Perfect example is Shadows. I mean, she just took off and like ran with that, with the podcasting, and she's been loving it. She still does her podcasts, and they're saying that it's really kind of the media that's like up and coming in this next year or two, and we were able to actually expose dreamers in a really safe, protected learning environment where Alessandra, you came alongside that month too. We had this like massive explosion of collaboration. And you brought in the workspace in the morning where people could come as needed, learn, and then kind of take off and run again. And that, to me, that is Dreamport. It is literally a port where people come from all over. They kind of mingle, they share information, they meet other people, and then they get sent back out into the world to later come back again to the port and meet and mingle. We never try to like keep um, our dreamers kind of locked into Dreamport. On the contrary, we are not a community on Hive, and we do that very purposely because we don't want people to feel like they have to compete with us as a community. We want them to know that when they are the community that's collaborating with us, they're the only community. And we are shining the spotlight on
Oh,
them. Yeah,
isn't that
yeah, we are not
something?
a community.
You really
Yeah,
thought
did you
this
not know that?
through. I did not
Yeah.
know that. I'm the
Yep.
bumpkin here. Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you need to clarify though, Dream. You're not an official community, but by the
True.
nature of the way
Yes.
you pull things together, it becomes a community.
So Dreamport is a
Exactly.
small
Yes.
a small C community as opposed to
Yes.
communities on Hive are
Exactly.
capital C.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I
So,
think that
but we
allows the nimbleness too, Dream, because you're kind of fluid with everyone in a way that allows everyone to feel like they are as much part of what you are as you are of what we are. Because as someone who uh, became part of this larger collaboration, and I think that's a real powerhouse here is that we all feel the freedom to very warmly and openly collaborate with one another. And there's zero ego and zero threat or anything like that. It's all just very kumbaya because it's for a set amount of time. And for some people, it's going to resonate and it's going to be the thing. And for others, it won't be. But you're not making folks commit past a month or 3 weeks
exactly.
because
Yes.
if they're like, this is not my jam at all, and I'm just going to be here until this is over, that's okay too. But then there will be folks who are like, holy smokes, this opened up a whole new world for me. And I'm going to do that and also carry on with the next challenge. And I think that real freedom that you have within the Dream Point allows everyone to feel that openness and willingness to go, yes, let's lend our mutual knowledge and community and aspects of what we each bring to the table, and let's see what we can create. It's like, throwing the Legos on the table and going, let's go.
Exactly. That is what we try very hard to foster. So it feels really good to be able to like hear that come back to us, like, hey, this is what we love about Dreamport. We try really hard to, I look at our member list and then I look at how, the people who kind of come in and go back out again. But to me, it kind of reminds me of, when you have like all of the high school kids are now going off to college, and some of the college kids pick, the local college. Some of them pick, going out of state. Some of them pick like going overseas. But at holidays, everybody comes back home to have dinner together. And that's kind of how I view Dreamport. It's this place where you're always welcome to show back up for dinner, and there's your spot. So yeah, it feels really good to be kind of the mom of that, because I think it really does feel like a family.
Well, I like that analogy so much, Dream, because this afternoon, as I was doing the rabbit hole about, okay, where did I know that Dreamport is at Dream Flare on Twitter? Where did Dream Flare come from? I was doing that rabbit hole. And the more I read, the more I just at one point I sat back and I'm like, this is like everybody going off to uni and you get on campus, and so here's Hive, here's on campus, and if you don't have a group with whom you hang, then you don't know who the bullies are, right? Because bullies are still, I mean, there are 70-year-old bullies that came across my path, tried to mess my deal up, and Shadows turned around and gave them one look and they skedaddled. But she's the anti-bully device, I tell you. Um, but yeah, if you don't, you have to have a group. And Devin and I, we grew up together, and we were in band and marching band and wind ensemble and drum and bugle corps and all of this stuff together. And in so doing, no matter where we decided to go to college, there was going to be a music program, and in that music program was going to be band kind of people, and those band kind of people wouldn't look at us like we had three heads. And they'd be like, okay, well, come along. Here's how we do it. And then you can get into more specific kinds um, of groups on campus. Some that are just social, some that are kind of big, some that are little bitty, some that are like remote. Like there was one that Devin did where they brought in Kurt Vonnegut. Devin drove Kurt Vonnegut. This weird stuff that happens when you go, and you do meet people. So I'm wondering, like, and anybody can give this one a go, but I'm wondering, have you ever met someone really unusual, or have you met somebody famous on Hive? Because you see that on Twitter, you do.
I think famous is subjective because they have the High Fest, right, where everybody gets together. And I can tell you that I ran into Tattoo J as an in Alt Space VR, and Tattoo J does the Wednesday walk. And I was like, hey, I was super excited to, quote, see him in the virtual world, in the meta world. And of course, he had no idea who I was. So I think famous is relative, right? And I think, who else did I see in the alt space VR that I was like, oh, I know you. So I kind of feel that way about a lot of the folks that I encounter. It's like, ooh, I've been reading you for a while, and now I'm actually talking to you. This is super cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's all relative. We had a guest. I don't remember who it was, but the first name he dropped when he came on mic was, "Oh, and by the way, I've met Shadows IRL," and everyone went, "Ooh."
that that would be John G. Olson.
Yeah, John G. Olson for sure. Yeah, he dropped that. Notice that he dropped that pretty early in the conversation, just so he would drop his street cred right there.
Right?
I love it. I love it.
Well,
You're
it is kind of rare. So, Alessander, I might want to point out to you that that family analogy that Dreams Team used for Dreamport,
Yeah.
that works for creative work hour as well.
I think it works for Pimp Your Post Thursday in many ways. I mean, you've got this really wonderful dynamic of people who come back and then folks who drop in.
This is true. They do come and drop in and drop out. And we do notice the regulars when they're not there. Dream.
Dream has been traveling.
Yes,
Oh.
I mean, I didn't even get like some leeway with that one. Well, it was funny because last week I came back and I was awake early enough, and then I started a fire and I just laid down on my living room floor in front of the fire and I was out. And then James came in
Oh,
and told everybody that I
you slept
passed
through
out.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, we
No,
catch.
Shadows, I think, was worried with because she was like, "What do you mean she passed out? Like she's passed out on the floor?" And he's like, "Oh, she's asleep." And she's like, "Okay, James, there is a difference between passed out and just falling asleep. Don't scare us."
Don't scare us like that.
This
Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious, Jordy, if you find that the writing community has a special vibe, a special spice, a special flavor in comparison
Yeah.
to maybe some of the other communities or some of the other groups. Because if you're having people come in and out, like the Dreamport community is about to come in, do you notice that it maybe re-energizes some of the existing folks?
Yeah, it can. I think writers have a tendency to be a little less audio friendly, just by the nature of, if you're spending lots of time writing, you may not be the type to hop on the mic and jump in. So you definitely see a lot of recurring names, and having been part of Scholar and Scribe for a while, like you see the names roll through and you recognize them. But I think a lot of folks are fairly shy. Um, and it all depends on how much community time they put in and where they mix and match their time. Like there's people like Old School who I know as Wrestling Desires that seems to be in every little nook and cranny. And then there's some people from the Hive Pizza Guild, which is where Scholar and Scribe got started, that are kind of exclusive to there and to Scholar and Scribe. And then I've noticed some Dreamport people that hooked into Scholar and Scribe on our first go through, and they're now regular contributors into this space. So I feel like there's less of a bond than these audio or visual kind of mediums, because I think there's probably um, less touch points for the humanity to kind of gel. But it's definitely there, and some people are obviously can be more social than others.
This is maybe a good time to mention that if somebody wanted to come up and ask a question or make a comment, just hit your mic request and we'll bring you up. And Dream, you've done serialized fiction on the platform just the same as Jordy has, but you were the first one I ever saw do it. What benefits did you find that you had out of doing that?
Oh my goodness. Well, so I did that back in 2017, and actually, yeah, well, I won't get into that, but it was such a powerful thing. I think probably because it was relatively a new idea that I was doing, there was a lot more people that were involved and really heavily invested in those posts, that story. Um, the difference, I had been considering just kind of self-publishing on Amazon at the time, because I actually, I wanted to write a trilogy and I wanted to, like put it out there into the world. Um, and I thought, you know what? I don't know what made me do it. I thought I want to try it here first and see what kind of reaction I get. I had a very specific time where it would come out. I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week. And then I think within the first week after I had written the post, I would write at the bottom, if you'd like to be alerted when, the next one comes on, just drop your name in here and I'll have at the bottom, a tag, like a list. And I think by the time I finished, I had about 50 subscribers to that story. And they
What?
were, yes, it was huge. And they were so invested. They were, I mean, they were having full on discussions like a reading club in the comment section. It had gotten pretty heated because I had some controversial characters, and if there ended up being, like, in Twilight where there's Team Jacob and Team Edward. Well, we had that in the story. There was, like, Team Brid, and then there was Team Derek, and people were so vehement about who was the right and who was the wrong, and it was so much fun. And it's something that you don't usually get when you just publish into, you put a book out there on Amazon. You don't usually get a lot of feedback. You don't get a lot of love from the reader. You don't get a lot of, I mean, I fed so much off of their energy. They made me excited to write more. They made me very conscious. Everything that I put out, there's a lot of readers that just kind of give up, 3/4 the way through the book. They don't know how to end it. And they've already gotten your kind of money, so to speak. So they just toss out an ending and they have no respect for the time that you've given them. For me, all the way through, I just felt like I needed to honor the reader because they have been committed with me. And I very much, loved their interaction, loved their voice back to me. And I incorporated what they were feeling into kind of, how I was ending the book. I ended up going back and starting it again for book 2, but that was right at the time where Steam was just imploding and Hive was not quite ready yet, and it just was not a good space to do that. And I think, yeah, that actually hurt a lot. So there is some dangers, I mean, you have to be very aware of what's happening around you, and you take a risk, because if you release it in a time that's just not ideal, it can really have an effect on, what you're writing and kind of the energy that surrounds it. But I would still, I mean, hands down, such an amazing experience to do that serialized fiction.
I love the whole idea of that there were like teams, people were
Oh
positioned
yeah.
like
Oh
oh
yeah.
no. Like I'm wondering, like how do you get the voice of that, in the writing, in the replies? Like, how do you spell? Oh no, you didn't. That's what I want to know.
There was actually 2 posts that I can think of, where the comment section got so heated. I actually was worried that I had created something too volatile. I did not realize that
Created monsters.
I did. I didn't realize that the bad guy was as bad as he was, and anybody who kind of liked the bad boy was being vilified because how dare you? It was just really, it
How
was
could
funny.
you?
Yes, yes. It was good. It was so much fun though. But
We would
yeah,
love to
I
see you
highly
stir up
recommend that
trouble
people try
again.
it. Yep.
And I wanted to hear about now, Jordy. Tell us tell us what you're most excited about, what's going on with your writing right now.
Yeah, it's for me, it's the experimentation with exactly kind of what Dream has spoken to in terms of engaging your fans, your most avid readers. So the story I have a story written to the point where I can keep posting it for about 6 or 7 months, and then I got to start writing it again because it's not finished, and I know how it's ending. But now that I've kind of set off this process, by it's in episode 2 right now, and by the time I get to around episode 6 or 7, that's where I've got to start creating new writing. Right now, I'm just enjoying distributing and building things up. So I'm excited to ride the wave into that and have some true deadline pressure into not letting an external audience down. But I've also been doing things like these giveaways every week. I've been
Yeah, tell
partnering
us
with,
about that. What's the giveaway thing about? What is that?
Every week or so, I try to do it on Sundays or Mondays. I run a giveaway contest where all you have to do is drop a comment and quote your favorite line from the story so far. It could be any line. I don't
Mm.
really care. And as long as you do that, I gather up all the names and I raffle off um, 6 or 7 prizes. And usually the total prize budget is like 6 or 7 Hive. So these aren't like massive prizes that are making me go broke. I can usually earn that much just off doing Hive things every week. Um, but it gets people excited and people return to it. And I try to jump around different communities to try to showcase the story and introduce my growing readership to other communities as well, kind of passively by using their tokens. And I think I've got about, I just do a similar read list like Dream alluded to, tagging people in every post. I'm up to about, say, 30, 35 people that have tagged on over time across several stories. I'm also just released a Hive NFT that commemorates the first episode. I do other NFT projects on the Polygon chain, and I've just started to try different things to reach different audiences in the Web3 sphere. And I've been collecting the data and putting together media kits and everything like that, and just trying to be my own learn as you go Web3 serial fiction marketer. To either one day have enough stuff to be able to build a product out of it with a developer, or just elevate this story, or just have a cool general life experience story when it comes to what I was doing when Web3 started to grow up and become a thing. So it's inspiring and it's fun.
Well, I love that. And when you were here when you were here before, and do say that you'll come back again.
Of course.
Yeah. Uh, but there were things that you dropped that I was like, oh my God, like you're not just into Hive, like you mentioned something about Polygon and what there was something, was it called Cash?
It might have been Scent.
Scent.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us again what Scent is.
Are you familiar with like Linktree, those little profile
Uh-huh.
sites? Right.
Yeah.
So Scent is a Polygon chain Web3 enabled Linktree, to put it kind of in a
Oh.
sentence. It looks just like Linktree. You put your links there, but they have this added feature where you can do little updates, little messages, and people can subscribe to you like they would subscribe to a Substack or something like that with their regular old Web2 email. And every update you provide has the option to be collected as an NFT. And if you don't want to collect it as an NFT, you can ignore all that and just get updates from people in your email ad, in your inbox, right? And so what I've been doing with my stories is, instead of random updates or articles, every time 3 story posts come out, I gather them in a little triplet and I create an NFT bookmark to kind of commemorate this little chunk of the story has come out. And
Oh, isn't that cool? Shadows, isn't that cool?
It is
Bookmark.
indeed. Yep.
Bookmark. And
yeah,
the
and it's
bookmark is kind of a link tree. And you
yeah,
can
there's
build up a
all the
readership that
Hive
way,
stuff.
you think?
I hope so. I mean, it's building an email list, right? And I suspect a lot of them are bots and things that are just because collecting the NFT is free. You don't have to pay any gas for it or anything like that. And then you can send it out to your Polygon wallet if you don't want to use the one that Scent makes for you. And over the past couple months of doing this, my email list is up to about 1,500, which feels like a lot, but
What?
whenever
Oh
I
my
post an
God, that's so
NFT,
great.
it seems cool. Whenever I post an NFT, around 10% of them actually take action and collect it. So either there's a bunch of bots, or people just joined and only collected a few, then dropped off. I don't quite know what the engagement metrics are truly like, but it is, like, as a marketer, I know a big piece of the puzzle is just repetition, right? So if the name Hunting Midnight as a story appears in someone's inbox, twice every week for months on end, I'm hoping that, 1% of these 1,500 people will be like, all right, what is this actually? And they click in and they discover Hive, and next year they're on this Twitter space being like, I just kept getting emails about this thing I signed up for, and eventually I checked it out and it was a story, and oh my God. So if you can just do a volume play like that, and even if the conversions are small, it's something, right? It's every putting bricks in the wall, so to speak.
I love it. And so if you have sent, can you use a bridge and get it over to your Hive wallet or no?
I don't think Polygon NFTs play nice with Hive, or at least I'm not aware of anyone who's figured that out yet. So no, there's no easy bridge for NFTs. Hive definitely has through layer 2 on Hive Engine, where most of all the tokens live that aren't Hive or Hive backed dollars. They do have something called Swapmatic, which is basically the Polygon main token wrapped up in Hive. So if you want to move value between Polygon and Hive, using the Swapmatic stuff is the best way I know of doing it. I imagine there's like 6 other ways that I'm yet to discover, and there'll be 12 more this time next year.
So
I think that's
fun.
the only way that's available, unless Leo Finance has something.
They probably do. They actually do have a Polygon wrapped Hive backed dollar and a bunch of liquidity pools and stuff that I barely understand. But not a lot of people know about it and use it. I think Swapmatic is the biggest one with the most liquidity right now. But things change.
Things change. They do. This is so fun. We could go all down rabbit holes everywhere, couldn't we, guys? Because they're our
Everywhere.
favorite kinds, rabbit holes. So, is there anything else that we wanted to? Are there any questions or comments from the?
I had, this is Gretchen. I just had a
Hey,
heard
Gretchen.
on when you said on the email about not opening up. I have from my regular Web2 site the for every bit you're really happy if you send out 1,500 emails and you get 1% opening. That's considered good.
Yeah.
That's considered really good. and I got up to 3% one time, and everybody was like, "Woohoo!" It just takes. You just think of how many times your own emails go. People don't see it the first time. They don't open it the first time, and they won't, and they won't, and they won't until finally they do. And yeah, so 1%. Woohoo! Good for you.
Also, it's not just me blowing off all the
No,
emails.
oh no, it's a statistic. It's statistical. It's about the whole thing and why you do that. And people with art storefronts, the whole thing is that people will get an artist will get very upset. Go, I sent out all these emails. I have like 800 people. I sent out 800 people and nobody opened, or only 2, and they're going, yeah, that's
That's how it goes.
how it goes, and you just kind of have to just keep at it.
Well, let's not forget that Apple changed all of that too, right? Where you don't know who opened your stuff because everything's different now. So whatever data that used to be before is not the same anymore. And times are different, but that doesn't mean we should give up. Keep sending your email out. Do the
Oh
thing.
yeah, you got to keep doing it, because if you don't know, I mean, there's no chance of anybody seeing it then.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm I'm grateful that I didn't give up with creative work hour when the more logical side of me said, "What are you doing?" Because I mean, we just went weeks with nobody there. It was just me. But, just like the email thing, it started to change very slowly.
So
And now we're a thing.
Alessandra, I did that with my live shows that when I started my Story and Art Live in November, and I mean, there was like me and maybe the person who was encouraging me, and then yeah, and Bob would get on, and it went on, and then, but now after I did a full year of it, I mean, there the same 15 people show up every time. And then last night I just went live just because for the heck of it. I wasn't even story time, and all of a sudden they just showed up, and it was like I was just kind of painting and trying out this new art set, and everybody just showed up and decided to start chatting with each other, and it's kind of cool.
Oh, It's lovely. And I really love the feeling of the Hive community that they're just like that. Like they're just there. You start to recognize these names over and over. I mean, this is how we got to know each other on Twitter, as we just saw these names over and over again. And then one day there was a Twitter space. And I'm like, I am going nowhere near that. And now here we all are.
So there's exciting stuff coming up ahead too, where I'm able to blend my Web 2 and my Web 3 world together. And Rose was in here earlier, and I mentioned that I'm working with Rose to help put her Women to Follow Summit together. And there is someone in this room who I'm thrilled to say will be part of that.
You mean you?
Me, yes, me. But I have also asked the wonderful Dreams team to join me on a panel.
Ooh, nice.
Very nice.
Because if you're a Web3 evangelist and doing the kind of work that Dream is doing, it deserves to be on a stage, even if it's a virtual stage. Because I think Dream is a woman to follow.
I
She
agree.
definitely is. Definitely. What are you going to say for yourself, Miss Dreamy?
I was so honored. She sent me
We
that
lost her.
thing. Well, first of all, oh no, can you not hear me?
No, you're good.
I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. I've been running around. My daughter's getting married in October, so everything is all about the wedding right now. And so Jennifer had kind of messaged me when we were doing all those things, and I was like, yes, I'm in, but I'm running, and I'll be back, and I want to find out more. But I was like so honored, and I didn't even get to like express that because I was in a whirlwind of wedding stuff. But I'm so looking forward to that. And I just felt like, I don't know. I mean, ever since I first met Jennifer, she's just always had such like faith in what I'm doing. And I know it is there because Shadows also is the kind of person that's just always like, Dream, you're doing it. Dream, you're out there, and I'm like, I'm just doing, what I'm doing. It's no big deal, but it's really cool to see that there's people like, that I follow, that I'm like, no, you're a woman to follow, that would put me in that same category that's just very touching to me, and it's encouraging to me, and I appreciate it. So thanks, Jennifer.
Yay. Oh,
So
I
when's the
think
panel?
is the 28th of February. Do we have a link dropped for that already, Jennifer, in our chat?
No, but I will add it. Thank you for the prompt. I should have this stuff prepared. Come on now.
You
Thank
weren't
you.
expecting us to ask.
I will put it in there. Thank you. And thank you, Dream, for agreeing to be part of that, because I'm telling you, folks, this Web3 thing that we women and gentlemen and men are doing, it's powerful. And the more that we can amplify this out to folks who are probably going to hear about it for the first time, but do it in a way that invites them in to go, oh, I don't know what that is, but okay, let me just dip my toe into that water and see if it's if it burns my toe off, or if it's too cold, or if it's, baby bear just right. And that's what I feel like we can accomplish through getting our message out there and sharing it far and wide. So yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And I wanted to let you all know that 4 times a month on Sundays, the first 4 Sundays of the month, Shadows and I are doing a kind of a fun tutorial. It's in a smaller group. We do it on Discord so that we expand your Discord knowledge or give you some. We can help you get set up ahead of time if you have no idea how to get on Discord. But once we're there, we talk about real details about how to do exact things on Hive. And it's, when we're here, we know it's being recorded. In the Sunday space, It's smaller and it's not recorded. So nobody will know what you asked. But we can share screens. This here is social audio. On Discord, when we do the Discord and Hive tutorials, it's also visual. We share the screens. You don't have to come on camera. You can keep your seat. You can stay comfortable however you like, but that's what we have on offer. So please let Shadows or me know if we can hook you up for that. We'd be happy to show you what we have figured out so far. And it does seem to be helping some people. They're like, we would have never gotten over this hump if it weren't for this little safe group where I could get my questions answered. Yeah. What else do we have going on that we just want to let people know about before we close out?
I would be really interested in that. I've got the next 2 Sundays booked with grandkids, but after that, I need that, and I need to talk to Jennifer. So, but I've got the next 2 weeks of grandkid commitment. That comes first. They don't call me gangsta
Yes.
grandma for nothing.
Gangster grandma. I love it. I love it. Well, Jordy, do you have anything else going on that's besides what we're going to be talking about, like the start on the 13th of February for the Hive Book Club with Dreamport?
Besides that, I guess the only thing I'm doing is consistently pumping out my own story. And I'll also be starting to work with some folks to do some Hive PR, although that'll be more behind the scenes. So if you want to check out my writing, you can find me at Hive is just at jfuji, no underscore. There's an underscore here on Twitter that I can't get rid of, but everywhere else, just jfuji.
And if we want to look at your other work, where would we find you there?
If you go on, you should see on my Twitter profile, there's a link to my sent page, which has a whole pile of links that I
Oh,
think are
cool.
important.
So we
It's the
get to
link
see
tree.
an example of Scent, and then we get to see whatever we're interested in seeing more of about you.
That's right.
Well, I hope that you'll come back for a third time.
Yeah, just
And
let me know when.
I think that Dream, she's had tonight is her third time. So Dream, will you come back for a fourth time?
I will come back for a 4th, 5th, 6th, and a millionth.
Well, you always have
You sure it's
something
only a
going on.
third?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like more often than 3.
I don't know. I might have, but
I
I've
think it's
been
3.
with Jennifer several times, so it might have been like kind of crossing over.
You know what? It's not enough. That's what I'm going to say.
Exactly. Quite agree.
You know why? Because she's a woman to follow.
Exactly.
Well,
I guess
she's got so much going on.
Oh my, does she? She's a blur. She is a blur. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We want to say thank you to our guests. Thank you for coming, Amy and Solid. Thank you, Gretchen. It's lovely to see you here. Devin, thanks for popping in. Angel, well, how are you doing, Angel? You ready to talk to Wilma? It's quite
I'm
late where you
okay.
are.
Yeah, it is. It's nearly wild o'clock, but yeah, I've been okay.
Good, good. And maybe Angel, you'll come and join us on. We have the first and third Sundays of the month. We have those sessions for Discord and Hive learning early in the day, so it works out for people in the UK, people throughout Europe, and on the second and fourth, we time them later in the day, so it works out for our friends that are down under and our friends that are in India. So that's it. That's our show, folks.
Are the Thursday spaces still going?
We're taking a break right now. We're taking a winter break as we're getting a little bit of infrastructure built that we have desperately, desperately needed. So we'll come back to them in the spring.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I had tuned in the last couple of weeks and it seemed that they weren't going on or I'd missed them, so I wasn't sure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking. And we'll get the new dates up as soon as we have those ready to go. So
Okay, thanks.
good, good. So Shadows, anything to finish off with?
No, I don't think so. Well, then
And
you can join us in the Dreamport Discord server on Thursday for Pimp Your Post Thursday.
yeah, fun stuff. And we'll help you if you're kind of like clumsy and don't know what the deal is. But we do recommend if you're doing it for the first time, if you join us on computer, you'll have less resistance to finding your way around. And Jennifer, how about you? How you want to lead us today?
What a great session. Y'all come back, tell the world, bring them here. This is a great way, a great community to kind of slowly ease their way into Web3 if they're a creator. But I think these sessions, they're small, they're intimate, they're warm, they're welcoming. And we're going to continue doing these because the world needs to hear about what we have found. And Web 2 is how we're going to build this bridge to take folks to Web 3. It doesn't mean you leave Web 2, you straddle both worlds because there's a benefit in both places. But I feel like these spaces are small, intimate, warm, and welcoming, and are the path and the bridge to get folks to discover what Web3 can be for them. So thanks for hosting these, Alessandra and Shadows, and for everyone showing up week after week and being a champion and a supporter of this mission.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here and thank you for listening to the recording. It really does matter. It matters to us, and it matters just in the overall scheme of things that recordings get heard, you know? But I'm Alessandra White. I'm your host. I'm also the host of Creative Work Hour. And Keith Keller asked me, I don't know, maybe it was 2-3 weeks ago, what tools I was using for hosting Creative Work Hour, which is a co-working space for a daily co-working space for flow so that you can do whatever that thing is that's important for you to do. Or if you need extra energy to get that work done, we're a really fun place to go to do it. Like it's work, but it's fun. It's work, but it's play. It's work, but it's relaxing. And how is all that possible? Well, it came up from following resonance. And when Keith asked me what tools we were using, I'm like, well, we use Zoom. That is in my world, I call that in real life. That is in person to me. We use Discord. We use Twitter Spaces. We use Clubhouse. We use all kinds of things. And so as I laid that out for him, I was like, okay, so already this month we've done this many on this platform, this many on this platform. I did not know until 2 or 3 weeks ago that we are doing 120 or more events per month. And I'm hosting all of them except for maybe 10 or 12, maybe. It's like the math of that, I'm like, that can't be true. But yet, there we are. So, making space here, and I'm making some space for myself in Web 2 to give that space to Hive on Web 3 because I figured out that there's not more space. I can't actually create it. I have to reallocate it. So being here is a very special thing. It's been a huge growth opportunity. It builds resilience for me. I'm scared every time when we start, and then it all settles in. So thank you so much, guys, for all of your encouragement to keep this going. We pledged to do 6, and now we've done, I don't know. I should count those up too, right?
Aren't we approaching a year, like in a few months? How many
Yeah,
months have we been going? I don't even
we
know.
all,
I think the end of March would be about a year.
there we go. And then we were doing Twitter Spaces on Thursdays too. So I bet we might be getting near 100.
Mhm.
So fun. Well, I'm going to let it is late where Angel is. It is late where Jordy and Shadows are. It is late, getting to be late everywhere. So I want to let you go, but thank you so much for being here. And well, we have one more person to say goodnight to. Good night, Wilma.
Not Wilma.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See y'all.